Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and president of that firm. We are coming to you from a unique location today. We are, I'm sitting in my office, and my guest today is in his office, so we are not at a studio, which is a lot of fun. We're doing this more and more often because we're trying to show and give you more and more content that you'll find valuable. What do we do on this show? We talk about business and social media, and we also like to share content that entrepreneurs can use in their companies. This show is brought to you by the social media management firm ePresence, and we manage social media for both companies and individuals. And we've rolled out the company piece more recently. We have an outstanding new individual in the organization, Eric Welch. He came to us from Fox Sports. So if you're interested in social media management for your organization, give us a buzz. Eric is just really awesome. Don't forget, you can always send me a direct message on any social media platform. My handle is ePresenceMG. That's ePresence, M for Mark, G for Galvin. And you need to make sure that you are using a social media handle everywhere that's easy for you to remember, just like that. So we have a wonderful guest today. I'm very excited to introduce you to Eric, and it's Eric Vardon, right?
There it
Eric?
is. There it is. That's right. It's a great French accent, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, listen, I'm always trying to make sure that I pronounce everybody's name correctly. You're not joking. It is Eric Vardon. I'm probably killing that, right?
That's perfect. No, we love it. We love it.
Now, if you're in the South here, as I said in Atlanta, Georgia, we would call you Eric Vardon. Just want you to know. So if you're ever down here in my neck of the woods, don't be offended by that.
That's all good. I like it.
All right, man. Well, listen, this is what I got a little note here that says you are an accomplished tech entrepreneur, C-suite executive, contributor at Forbes Agency Council, and advisor with more than 20 years of success in marketing, advertising, cannabis, health and wellness, fitness, luxury, fashion, beauty, technology, and digital industries. Currently, you hold an equity position at multiple rapid growing organizations, I should say. And you're focused on game-changing machine learning and AI technology venture called Morphio.
That's it.
So thank you for joining us. Folks, you can hear from that little intro why Eric is with us today, because he brings a whole new facet to what we talk about here on How's Your ePresence, because of his experience, especially in that AI tech field. Eric, tell everybody, how did you and I connect?
Yeah, well, of course, connected online. We found ourselves on LinkedIn. I reached out after hearing a few of the podcasts and loved what I heard, and actually employed a few tips and tricks from some of your most recent guests, and found value right away. And I love a great conversation, but when you can get something to take out of a conversation and act on it right away, well, you love it that much more. So yeah, wanted to reach out, and I think maybe not the rest is history, but we'll see how the rest of the call goes. So
yeah, true. Well, I think that we're going to be in good shape, because when you and I jumped on the call the first time, we had a real robust conversation, and it was a natural to ask you to join me. So thank you, number one, for reaching out and realizing how valuable social media can be. I mean, it's an obvious thing for you because you're in social media, but it's, this is the way things work. You're in Canada. What part of Canada are you in?
Yep, just outside of Toronto. So hopefully everybody knows where that is.
Sure. And you've got a little snow, I think, right now, right?
That's right. Yeah, a little snow, a little slush, a little gray, but that's okay. It prepares us for the heat that usually comes after. But it's a long winter, but that's part of the deal here up in Canada.
Well, you live in beautiful country. Canada is a lovely place. I'm not going to tell you how I am upset that it's 37 degrees in Atlanta.
Don't tell me. I don't want to
know. the leaves just fell in Atlanta. But anyway, nonetheless, thank you for joining us. So, folks, this is what we do on our show. You know this. We like to go through some social media updates, some things that are going on. And there's something that happened in the sports. And so we don't talk sports typically here on How's Your ePresence, but we're going to today. And here's why. There's something that happened recently that's a great feel-good story that wouldn't have happened without social media. And it is this. So those of you in the U.S. know that there is that college basketball is a big thing in the U.S. The team that is a perennial favorite in basketball is Duke. So Duke University was the ranked number one when a second tier, it was still a Division I school, went to Duke. So it was a home game for Duke, and the team was college team was Stephen F. Austin, and they went into Duke and beat them. Yes, they beat Duke in Cameron Indoor Stadium. Now that is old news for most of you, but here's the interesting thing that happened with this: the guy who had the winning layup, his name is where is it? Nate Bain. Nate Bain was the gentleman that had the winning layup, and this is a team out of Texas. Here's what happened. He is a gentleman that his family's from the Bahamas. So he went to Texas to play a little basketball. And as we all know, the Bahamas got hit by that hurricane somewhat recently. His school set up a GoFundMe account. And the GoFundMe account had somewhere around $5,000 before. Oh, excuse me, they had $16,000 right before the game where they played Duke. Now I will tell you, the GoFundMe account set up by the school, they did not expect to beat Duke. They did not think anything about this game at all. But they were thinking about shutting the GoFundMe page down because it was losing some traction. But they said, "What the heck? We'll just leave it open for another week for no good reason." Well, they go in, they beat Duke. He gets the winning layup and blows up on social media. I want all of you to know his family has over $135,000 offered or pledged on. It's not even a pledge. These are donations on GoFundMe. This is the great thing about social media. We would not have been able to easily go in and give this guy money not that long ago. So I like bringing this up because it's a feel-good story that's important for us to highlight. Remember, there's a lot of good things, and we need to focus on what social media is good for. And this is a great thing. We were able to, as a country, as individuals, and he had people giving him money from the UK. So that's an exciting thing. Love that. I know, Eric, up there in Canada, you guys would have had the same thing if it was a hockey game, right?
Well, we still love, obviously, because of last year, we love our basketball. So
true.
either way, yes, we were there to support for sure.
Bravo. Good stuff. So the other thing I want to highlight on the news segment of today is a couple of things. Number one is you can change your URL in LinkedIn. And when you change it, it's what really becomes your handle. So for example, if you go to LinkedIn and type in linkedin.com/IN, so that would be Ingrid Nancy /ePresence MG, you land on my LinkedIn profile. So that's my handle, ePresence MG. You can change this by simply going to your profile. And when you land on your profile, look in the top right-hand corner. So it's important. Go to LinkedIn, pull up your profile. Don't go to your feed. Go to your profile. Easiest way to get to your profile, click LinkedIn in the top left corner. And I'm on the web, not on your mobile app. So go to the web. LinkedIn top left corner, click your name, and then it will take you to your profile, and your name will be in the top left. And then once you're on your profile, go to the top corner on that page, and there's a button there that says Edit Your Public Profile. Once you get there, top corner of that page is where you can edit your custom URL. You should change this to something other than the randomized URL that's assigned to your page. This is so important because it's easier for you to remember. You can use it in marketing material and the like. You should have the same URL on all of your social media channels, and make sure you pick one that is good for you, not just today, but forever. Like, for example, Eric, how many companies have you started up? You had a few, right?
Too many to count. Yep.
So if you had decided to grab a URL that was attached to your very first company, you would have constantly had to change the URL for your LinkedIn page. And that would not have been a good thing, right?
That's right. Yep, that's right.
That's what I'm talking about. Think about where you are today, where you're going to be in 10 years. Make sure your URL is going to be able to go the long haul. So I'm not going to go through how to change your URL on all social media. I will do it on LinkedIn. You guys know how I love LinkedIn the most. So that's how you do it there, but change it. Keep it, make it the same on all social media. The other thing I want to talk about today is attraction marketing. So, Eric, when you guys are marketing, what is the primary means you use to market Morphio, or anything, any of your organizations for that matter?
Sure. Yeah, I think each of them are unique, and it really comes down to the type of customer that you're obviously trying to sell to. And so you can have let's say, a window and door company, and somebody who buys your product once or twice a year, and it's a very high-end price point, and the investment is very important to the family. Well, you're going to use different tactics, and you're also probably going to spend a lot more to acquire that customer. Morphio is after B2B clientele. We're looking for agencies and brands direct, and so we know with our price point, we actually have to be very cognizant of the cost associated with how we market it and how much we bring them in for. Our cost per acquisition is quite lower in a SaaS-based business, especially online. So we use a lot of organic, a lot of the tips and tricks you just said around our company URLs, our social tags, our URL, of course, and how we even manage our tracking and our tagging of our individual pages. It's all about the more organic reach, the better we can rank, the more organic traffic and the more cost effective we're going to bring it in. So for us, it's all about content and driving thought leadership as well as organic reach. And really that's a focus for us right now.
So organic reach, folks, what that means is that they're not paying for that advertising. They're not paying. The organic reach is what they're doing is they're trying to create such a compelling message. Define that as you may. Website can have a compelling message. They're trying to drive that have such compelling information that people are driven to them. And I think that that's brilliant. So you spend a lot of resources on trying to come up with great organic content, because I will be honest, that's not easy, is it?
No, you're right, and it's easier in one respect, yet more expensive to put a whole bunch of dollars into paid tactics and paying Google to have a cost per click of a certain dollar amount, and trying to play within that game against your competitors, which is a good strategy. But you're right, it's more expensive to think about the content, to curate it, to publish it. It takes more time and effort. It is a balance, but for us, that's the balance we're trying to work on.
That's cool. So there's a lot of traditional marketing methods out there. I'd like to talk about something that is, when you look at the three channels of marketing, you have attraction marketing, which is the one-to-many. You have interruption marketing, or basically cold calling, where you're interrupting people, which is still effective, believe it or not. And then you have something called endorsement marketing, where you get folks to endorse you. And I'm not talking about getting the Kardashians to endorse you. This is where I would relate to Eric and see if he could refer business to me. That's that endorsement piece. But when you look at these three areas, it's important to remember that it is a good idea, if you're going to spend money on marketing and you're going to do that outbound marketing, that you should look at social media advertising. It's a good option, because you can reach a target audience, and you can do a little A/B testing and figure out where your best bang for your buck is, and you can do it for not a lot of money. So if you're spending money on, say, print media, or you're even doing cold calling, you have a team of people out there making calls for you, make sure you complement that by looking at some social media advertising, because it's targeted. You can reach a wide variety of audience. Remember this, you can advertise on Facebook, and it will go to mobile apps. And so if Eric's favorite weather app up there in Canada is weather.com, let's say, you can reach him on that mobile app, even if he never goes to Facebook. And the other thing is, this is important because of what Eric said, is that organic piece that he mentioned. And when somebody lands on your website after they've hit your ad, you need to have good content that'll keep them. Plus, you get good results, good analytics. You'll be able to see how all those ads are doing. So good stuff. That's the update for news for the day. Eric, any thoughts about news updates that I should have asked you on, or before we get into some questions about you and the organizations you work with?
Well, I think we touched on the weather and sports. So let's get into it, Mark. We're good.
Rock on. All right, cool. So, you've done a few startups. And one of the things that, of course, I'm really curious about is, what have you seen since starting your newest startup, what has changed across social media in the last few years in regards to how do you implement social media with each new startup?
Yeah, I mean, the landscape over the last 10 years, and 10 years really being since the downturn where all companies, big or small, turned to new forms of marketing, looking for cost-effective ways to drive as much return as possible. And so that really started the snowball effect of taking even the smallest of traditional marketing budgets, or the things that you may have been doing with Yellow Pages, or a little bit on Google or other types of things, or direct mail or what have you, and just trying to see what happens and what works. And if you remember, everybody had to have their Facebook page and their YouTube and their icons on their business cards and all of those kinds of things. And so I think people are really now, even 10 plus years later, not only more comfortable about these tactics. So the media hasn't changed. Of course, their algorithms and the way they price and target, as you mentioned, all those kind of things have changed. But the idea that social media can be a place of investigation and testing, with a quicker, return of value, really is just a change of mindset of trying something and being aware that it may not work or it may succeed. But the faster you can make those decisions is actually going to benefit your organization. And I think the tools have really helped entrepreneurs understand how to make those decisions quicker, both with insights or emails or notifications or tips or how-tos. They really are there to help guide. Ultimately, the biggest thing that's changed is these businesses, Facebooks and Googles, Microsofts, etc. This is their business model. This is how they make money. They have to make sure that an entrepreneur with spending all their hard-earned dollars needs to see a return. So they really have started out as an awareness, and now they really are helping us as entrepreneurs see a return, and that's probably the biggest difference in my mind.
Bravo. And the struggle that I have with understanding any type of social media or any type of advertising when it comes to paid ads on Google and the like is that it does seem nebulous. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around it. But the data that comes back to you really, I always find enlightening. And you realize, wow, this doesn't work. And you're able to react faster. You can pivot faster and move your money in a better direction. And I used that postcard example before. If you printed 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 postcards and you've got all the money into that and you've mailed them, you just sit back and hope like heck it works. Now, yeah, you've bought a good list. You've been promised it's a good list. But at least if I'm halfway through an advertising, if I'm through with Google through paid ads and such, I can react faster. And I think that's a pretty cool thing today is you're able to quickly pivot and move your money in a new direction. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
All right. So I haven't really had you describe Morphio. Tell me about Morphio and what you guys do.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a little bit this with all this data and all of these opportunities. When we built a service-based organization that helps consumer and business brands really within their online business, but internally, we had problems managing all of that money on behalf of our clients, managing people, managing data. I mean, it became a business within a business just to actually keep up on what the data is telling us. And that whole data analysis paralysis is prevalent through a mom and pop restaurant, or for example, all the way to Fortune 100 companies. There's just too much data, and making a decision on it is that much more complex. So we think of Morphio almost as that antivirus or marketing security for all of the data and the marketing spend that a business would have. Morphio makes sure that nothing that shouldn't happen happens. And so there's that idea that our algorithm and that our machine learning, not to get too nerdy, can give you that peace of mind, no matter what size your brand is, that if something goes wrong, it's going to flag it right away and tell you what to fix and what to prioritize. And so, long story short, it's something we're really quite excited to offer.
All right. So I'm a simpleton, even though I'm in this space. I'm telling you that. So give me an example.
Absolutely.
How, and I love the image you just given me. And if it's an image is the right word, the antivirus on marketing spending, how would it work and maybe spend is the wrong word, but give me an example of how that would
Right. So
work
you
in a
turn
real life
on
scenario.
absolutely. So you turn on a campaign for you're spending some dollars on Google Ads. You're tracking your website traffic on analytics, or you have a Facebook campaign or going and you set some ads in a you know in a certain city or geography, and you put that hard-earned dollars and time and effort into targeting, et cetera, and you put it out there. Well, sometimes your credit card expires, or sometimes the tracking that you have in your Google Analytics is broken, or you're not seeing as much traffic as you would expect to see, or let's say the website goes down. All sorts of things can happen, or somebody forgets to turn off a campaign or on a campaign. All of these things happen every single day, but you wouldn't know unless you go into the data and it tells you. And some of these platforms offer red flags here and there, but the idea that something like Morphio can actually track all that for you is really the notion that it keeps that peace of mind that those mistakes should never happen and will not happen, under our platform.
And so if you've got an organization that has brought you guys on and they're running, how many of these ads are they typically managing at one spot?
Absolutely. I mean, it varies from one website and a few pages with 20 to 100 campaigns and a relatively small budget, to agencies that work with us that have 50 or 100 clients, all with varying websites or web properties, and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, if not more, that they're managing. So really, it doesn't matter, and that's sort of the next wave of this machine learning and automation, is that no matter the scale, it should be able to be managed by a machine to let us as executors and marketers do what we do best, which is think of strategy and execute and make sure that our bosses and our teams and our clients are happy. That's really the idea.
That is really awesome. So the whole AI piece, I think, is so fascinating, and there's so many places to go when it comes to AI. But you guys you're presenting a solution that really does help complement the marketing staff, can make them more effective.
That's right.
And produce information for decision makers to determine whether they should continue in a certain route. It all speaks to that part, and this is all about why you should advertise in general, because you can, especially with your product turns into be that extra staff member that will watch to make sure that this marketing advertising works really well.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. All right. So tell me this. How important is automation and AI today in general, not just on your product, but throughout the entire business world? Give me an example. Give me an idea of how much AI we're running into and where is it going?
Yeah, I think a couple points there is clearly with our boomer generation looking at retirement rapidly over the next 5 years, and it's something like 10,000 a day that are entering that retirement age. It's a crazy amount of
that is nuts
of individuals, and so below that you have, of course, the next group of millennials, and the gap in between is massive. And so there's not only a knowledge gap in itself, but you're also seeing just a different type of workforce looking for different things. So globally, of course, we have, and specifically in Canada and US, when we talk about unemployment rates at all-time lows, well, skilled labor and other opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of great things going on, but it also poses problems that we're not used to dealing with before. And that's where this gap for automation, as well as the timing of technology, has come in. And so it's not something that we can stop. It is going to happen. And there's all sorts of people that think that doomsday of robots will take over, et cetera. And I look at it as, for us, it was something that we wanted to build to make our employees and our team members' lives better and free them from the mundane and the repetitive things, because that's not why they're there and that's not what they love to do. And so when I put on my AI or machine learning hat, it's about taking away those things that are making people unhappy. And if truly we can use automation and technology to make the world a better place, more successful, more happy, less stressful, well, that's an amazing opportunity. And to me, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. There are so many things on the AI side that are just amazing, and we could go down that route all day long. I do think that we're not that far off from major cities limiting cars, and all the cars will be driven by computers. That freaks out a lot of people, but I also think it will be ultimately more safe. And the only way we get there is by the AI systems that are on the roads right now that are learning and constantly figuring out how they can drive a car. That's a simple example, but there's so much more that AI that happens without us knowing it, from the way we answer when you call a company now, and the phone is being directed for you automatically. We're talking to fewer automated hit this, hit that. You can talk to your credit card company's computer through the phone. All those sort of things go to making our lives a lot better. That's good stuff, man. So, and it's like a candy store for me. I'd love to sit down with you guys and see all this fun stuff. I wonder how digital media is successful in organizations today. It's always one of those things I love to probe. So how is digital media helping you guys succeed today, and why is it successful?
Yeah, I think, and for our fellow entrepreneurs that are either just getting started or have been in it a while and are looking for new ways to reach out to businesses or grow their companies, etc. I mean, there's no better way now to find new ways to grow your business, and or to use new tools or features, or even things on LinkedIn or other platforms like Morphio to do business in a different way. And yes, there's a learning curve, and it's somewhat awkward and uncomfortable and those types of things. But the idea that you have to hire a bunch of people or spend a bunch of money on marketing and hope for a return. There's a new wave of do a little bit, see what the return is, make sure you're making some profit or a return of some kind, and then do more of that. And I think that there's comfort in that if you're okay with taking some leaps of faith and trying new things. But that is really where the business is going.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at my own company and the things that I do without an extra staff member, like accounting. I'm pretty much doing that on my own, and I could never have done that just 10 plus years ago. All right, so I always like this one zinger. What is the one thing that you would tell a new entrepreneur, an employee, a manager, or a leader that is the most important skill? So what is the most important skill in today's workplace?
Wow, yeah. I mean, I think, so I'm going to stay with the employee, and you might have to remind me of each of those. But the employee, I mean, it's all about that word grit. And it's a great book, and it's a great TED Talk, and there's other examples out there. But it's really that determining factor of someone who's...
So Eric, say that again. I lost you there for a moment. I want to make sure it's clear. What was it?
Grit. Grit, yes. And so do a TED Talk, Google search on grit, and there's a great storytelling piece there that you can watch. But it's that work ethic, that problem solving, that thing that every employer wants to understand, that you care, that you have great morals and emotion, but you're really a problem solver, and you're looking at ways to solve that problem and continuously grow with an organization. So that's what we look for, and that I think resonates for sure. From a leader perspective, it's one of those things that it's all about being human. And again, back to the different type of workforce that we have, there's new ways that people want to be communicated to. There's a younger demographic that really wants to be included in conversation. They want to problem solve. They want to know all the answers. And mainly they're looking for that level of feedback and communication, and not just to be told what to do. That's just a very different way of managing that new workforce. And I know there's two others, so remind me what they are.
No, you're good. Let's talk about that human piece.
Okay.
So if I may, I'm not going to let you off the hook on that one. Number one, back to grit in the TED Talk. We'll put it in the show notes, folks. So just go down the show notes. You can hit the click on the link and we'll get it straight there. Being human today, it's so funny. It's sort of like this new revelation. Oh, we should treat everybody like human beings. We should have always done that. We would have found people much more productive over the years if we had been focused on being human beings and treating everybody like human beings. So I think that we're in that space that's so important, that we've realized it and we're now implementing it, and this generation is demanding it. So the manager, so you talk about the leader, there's the middle manager. And I hate middle management. I was in it. I had two different types of people I had to report to. I had the people I was managing below me, and I had to take care of the boss above me. What about those folks? What talent do they need to have?
Yeah, so those managers are actually closer in age to their workforce than ever before, and so it comes with a level of you can be friendly, but you can't be friends, and it's always something that I believe it's difficult for our younger management because they are younger than most workforces before, and so understanding that fine line is a big piece, but. Leadership, they probably won't have as much leadership skills just based on the amount of time they were probably within the organization. So take that under your own wing to figure out what type of leader that you are and the leader that you want to be. And there's no better way than communicating that with your team to say, what can I do better? What am I doing that's great for you? What am I not doing? And that's actually a really good relationship that a manager can have with their young team. And the young team is looking for that level of inclusion. So I believe it's a win-win for a manager to have that level of attachment to their team for sure.
I agree. We have to be vulnerable, and people respect vulnerability, and they respect leaders that are willing to say, hey, I'm not good at this. That's why your role is so important. I think that's fantastic. Well, we're out of time, and this always happens. I end up astounded at how much information is out there and how little of it we can share. So I think it's really important for folks to know where they can find you. So Eric, where are all the places that you would like for people to go to find you?
Absolutely. Well, it would be worth saying, of course, on LinkedIn, and you can go to Forbes/Eric Vardon, V as in Victor, ARDON. I've listened to you, Mark. I've got my URLs in place, and you can check out some of the backgrounds and links and content that I produce there. But if you're interested in AI, go to Morphio, morphio.ai. That is, we've got a great blog there with some interesting content, tips and tricks too that you can kind of learn. But I think those are two great places to start. But hopefully we've done our work in our organic and SEO rankings, so you can search my name or search Morphio, and hopefully we're living up to your standards, Mark.
Well, I'm sure that'll happen. You guys know what you're doing better than other folks. And what we'll do is we'll put all of those links and even more in our show notes for you so that folks can find you easily. Well, Eric, I'm going to tell you, I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I'm thrilled we made the connection. I do look forward to staying in touch with you. And now you are our resident AI expert. As AI pops up on the radar, there may be a time that I want to pick up the phone and get the phone is such an archaic term, isn't it? Pop onto a video conference like this and chat with you again in the future if there's an AI thing. You up for that?
Anytime. I would love to help, and anytime to be here for other entrepreneurs and people getting into business. I'm here anytime you need.
Bravo. Well, Eric, I do appreciate the time. For everyone, for the rest of you folks, I want to let you know you can find ePresence just like what Eric said. You should be able to track us down just by typing ePresence in Google. But if you want, go straight to us at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me because it's all about you. You can also find us on any social media platform using the same handle, ePresence.me. No dot there, just ePresence.me. Well, until next time, for my guest, Eric Vardon, I am Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence? We'll talk to you soon.